Can we have the roll, please?
Mr. Sprecher,
Present.
Ms. Hallett,
Here.
Ms. Ryan,
Here.
Mr. Mrzinski.
Here.
Okay, 4. Okay, let's go on to approving the minutes for May 3rd. Okay, do we have any discussion on that from the board? No. Do I have a motion then?
I move to accept the minutes as presented.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay. We have a vote? Roll call vote?
Mr. Mrzinski,
Yes.
Ms. Ryan,
Yes.
Ms. Hallett,
Yes.
Mr. Sprecher.
Yes. Okay, can we get with the attorney for the quasi-judicial?
Sure.
Okay,
This is a quasi-judicial proceeding where the Heritage Preservation Board acts in a quasi-judicial rather than a legislative capacity. At a quasi-judicial hearing, it is not the board's function to make law, but rather to apply law that has already been established. In a quasi-judicial hearing, the board is required by law to make findings of fact based upon the evidence presented at the hearing and apply those findings of fact to previously established criteria contained in the Code of Ordinances in order to make a legal decision regarding the application before it. The board may only consider evidence at this hearing that the law considers competent, substantial, and relevant to the issues. If the competent, substantial, and relevant evidence at the hearing demonstrates that the applicant has met the criteria established in the Code of Ordinance, then the board is required by law to find in favor of the applicant. By the same token, if the competent, substantial, and relevant evidence at the hearing demonstrates that the applicant has failed to meet the criteria established in the Code of Ordinance, then the board is required by law to find against the applicant. Are there any members of the board wishing to disclose any ex parte communications or conflicts of interest this evening?
no.
Seeing none, anyone wishing to speak this evening, if you could please stand and raise your right hand to be sworn in. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So sworn.
Okay, we'll move on to the first application. First application is 2143. This is for 28 West Center Street, installation of a porch and a roof on it. Applicant, staff, can you present?
Okay,
Present your findings?
thank you. This is a proposal by Mitch Perger for placement of a porch on the rear of the main structure. And this is located at 28 West Center Street. There's the location in the district. And this applicant did receive a certificate of approval to replace a metal roof with the shingle roof. That project has not been done yet, at least when I visited the site. That has not been completed yet. So when you look at this, then in your minds, you can picture that the whole house will be have a shingle roof. And this is a survey overlay of the property. You might recognize this. You've seen this a couple times with the roof replacement and placement of a shed in the yard, which I did not take a picture of, but he did a beautiful job with the shed placement and the design. So doing a good job renovating this property. This is from the side, and this is the later addition that the master site file form notes. Not sure if that was always enclosed or was a porch or just an accessory addition. These are your standards that are most applicable. And again, this is an addition to a porch addition to that previous rear addition. And it's going to be extending out from that shed roof, extending out with a front-oriented gable roof when you look at the porch. You can probably will be able to see at least parts of that porch from the East Center Street view. The applicant, depending on how they fill in that yard, you may not be able to see it over time. From the west side, it's pretty close setback to the next house, so you wouldn't really be able to see it from there. Materials will be shingle roof, and then the rest of the materials proposed are wood. Again, this is the survey. This is the site plan showing the added wood. It's actually a porch, covered wood deck, but it's a porch. And it shows the back of the house. The fenestration doors won't be altered. And then look at that design of how that roof comes in. So this is going to be a gable roof pointing toward the backyard, and then it's going to come right out from that shed roof. And you can see, looks like there was a middle window enclosed. That's kind of where the point will meet. None of these, the louvered vents and the windows won't be disturbed. But it looks like, let me go back. It looks like these rafter tails will be completely covered. So again, that's the configuration. That's kind of a poor overlay that I tried to do, showing where that'll be. It's a very large backyard, so he has plenty of room. Again, this is the view from Center Street. Just noting that the two alterations on this property were that rear addition and this front porch addition, which also has exposed rafter tails. The site file form notes beadboard soffits as a notable feature of the house, and I am kind of curious myself whether this is original to the house or not. I'm not sure if those are decorative or what, so I'm not sure that the rafter tails are really original to the house. This is sort of a depiction that the applicant provided of what the porch will look like. Again, looking at how that ceiling is, that's where I'm concluding that the rafter tails will be hidden on that rear addition. But the form of the addition, it was added sometime in the past, maybe kind of far in the past. It looks like there's no date on the site file form, but you'll be able to tell. You know, the addition is there. You'll be able to recognize it as an addition. So I don't think it really disturbs that previous alteration of the property. And the applicant is proposing, again, all wood for all the materials, including the tongue and groove ceiling. And this is just another view from the rear showing, and this is an older picture, the shed's not there yet, but that shed's back in the corner here. But that's where you'll see the porch extending out from the rear. So staff is recommending approval of this project, and I'll be glad to answer any questions on it.
Does the board have any questions to ask right now? No. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, the applicant, if you want to come up and present what you're going to do. Is he here today?
I don't see Mr. Berger here.
Oh, okay, okay.
I don't know who this young lady is, so I wasn't sure if she was for this one or not.
Okay, we'll just go on from there. Public comments. Anybody have public comments on it? Okay. Are we on Zoom now or no?
No.
Okay, that's good. Any emails on this?
No.
Anything like that? Okay. I'm going to open this up to the board for discussion. Have anything?
Well, I'm not a real fan of the applicant not showing up. However, and I know they don't have to be here, to me, this is pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward.
And nicely presented.
Mm-hmm.
So I personally don't have a problem with that.
No.
And I don't have any questions then. Actually, my only question was about the roof, but that was answered.
Okay. One thing I did want to concur with you, the roof, the way they did that, to where when you're looking at it from the side, you still see the shed type roof of the original addition. That's good. I think that was a good call there. Really
Yeah.
do.
And I know you're in board discussion. If staff may be recognized, I neglected to pass this around. This is a sample of the siding that would be on the gable, if you want to see that the applicant did submit.
Okay.
Wow, it's pretty.
Large border. Oh, man, yeah, that's real. Okay,
Thanks.
do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the proposal as presented.
Okay,
I'll second it.
second has been done. Can we have a roll call vote?
Mr. Mrozinski,
Yes.
Ms. Ryan,
Yes.
Ms. Hallett,
Yes,
Mr. Sprecher.
Yes.
done.
That's good. We'll move on to application 2160. This is 105 East Tarpon Avenue. You're replacing, oh, the storefront. Yes.
Nikki.
Okay. You can remain
back.
seated. Yeah.
Yes.
Staff, can we have your report?
Yes. And this was continued from your last meeting. This is replacement of a storefront. This is at 105 East Tarpon. So it's in this building here. There are two tenants in this building, or two tenant spaces. Again, right downtown on Tarpon Avenue. The west space is occupied by the Backdrafts Pizza. The east space is currently empty. So we're looking to completely replace that storefront with a storefront that matches the Backdrafts Pizza, which is at 101 East Tarpon Avenue. This includes, one thing I will note that you did approve the applicant to replace the vitrolite, that black tile, at 101 East Tarpon at Backdrafts with the brick veneer. I do have that sample with me if we want to look at that. So that certificate of approval has been issued. This is just a look at it. There's the Backdrafts Pizza, and then here's the storefront that we're discussing this evening. And this was known as the McElroy's Drug Store, built in 1895. One thing about this, I did look high and low for historic pictures on this. It looks like the alteration of the storefront. Oops. Let me go back. These are 1980s photographs as the earliest I could find of the vacant storefront. The only early photograph that might be pre-1940s is this one that shows where the Backdrafts is now, where the bank is, or where it was a bank before. But this was the McElroy's Drug Store. And I looked at the Sanborn Fire Insurance maps, and it's noted, obviously, as a drugstore in 1913, and then in 1919, we have the switch to the bank. But again, I could not locate any photographs earlier than the 1940s, and the applicant didn't submit any historic photographs or material that way. So we're looking to completely demolish this storefront and replace it with a flat panel type storefront, or a single plane storefront that's similar to Backdrafts. The features of this are obviously the recessed entry. That's the most notable feature on the site file form for this era, or this type of the commercial masonry vernacular structure. The 1940s alterations the site file form notes the addition of the vitrolite. I just have a feeling that the curved windows and the curved design may have been done at the same time, but I don't know that for a fact, only because I just feel that, and the applicant may have more information, that it may have been something popular at the time with that look. I'm not sure if the original windows would have been curved like that or not, so that's something I'm not sure about. But, so we have the recessed feature is one item. We have fixed transom windows. I don't know if they ever operated and were replaced, but we have the transom area up here. And then you've got a signboard feature here that was stuccoed in the past. So this is the sketch of the replacement submitted by the applicant. Shows basically a faux kick plate type item here that's going to be filled in, and then the single tall windows and then double doors instead of the single door with side lights that's on it now. Tried to kind of maybe overlay a little bit, not very good, but some of the items I noted as with the height of these proposed features, I think when you look at the existing transom and signboard, I think those are going to be replaced. Kind of judging from the backdrafts, it's going to be the same design and same height is what I gather from the application. And if you look, the way backdrafts ends up is there is the stucco still on the top, and then a window feature added. So you're looking at the height here that I think will have the panels coming up partway, but that would need to be confirmed, I think, by the applicant. As far as the storefront display windows, the inside and the inside walls you can see are brick. I'm not sure what the exterior fabric of this building originally was, but based on the presence of the brick, we did go with brick veneer for the backdrafts side, the 101 East Tarpon, just on the kind of conjecture that it was either brick or brick is consistent with that original 1895 era. So it's got the brick underneath. This is looking inside through the glass. You can see the brick, and then, of course, outside it's covered with this vitrolite, and then the wood framing and the curved glass that's in there. This is just views up and down the street. This is going west, this is going east. There are, I counted 8 recessed storefronts in this block. This is in the heart of downtown. So it's pretty prominent area for looking at these storefronts. There were a couple of those that were in a single business, so that's what I came up with on that. As far as the experience from the street, obviously there will be an alteration, and there will be an alteration to how the individual experiences the store going in, as far as the conveyance of the historic feel and character of the district. I've listed several guidelines in your staff report that should be looked at. Just call out one of those, and that would be to maintain and restore character defining features of the commercial, which would be historic storefronts, transoms, signboards, bulkheads, windows, cornices, and other architectural details. So that would be something you should take a close look at. I found that the height and width of the building won't change, but the height and width of the front facade will be altered. So item 1, I didn't think it was consistent with your review standard number 1. With number 2, again, Those features I just read from the guidelines will be altered or replaced. So I didn't think it was consistent with that. Again, with the neighborhood context and experience, I did not find it consistent with that in this area of the district. As far as the architectural features, the brick veneer replacement of the vitrolite, I think is probably acceptable, but the other items being demolished didn't meet this criteria. And this includes original features being removed and those installed in 1940, as far as I can tell, or around 1940. I've listed some of the Secretary's guidelines that I believe this conflicts with, and this does conform to other city codes and a comprehensive plan. So staff is recommending denial of this application. If the board approves the application of the brick veneer, we're asking for two conditions: that it be limited to where the vitrolite material is now, so that the stucco is not covered with brick. And that's consistent with the 101 East Tarpon that was approved. And that the certificate of approval be in effect for 3 years. So we didn't receive any responses to public notice on this, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
I've got one question. Okay, when we talked about backdrafts, and we were working with the facade on that one, the existing facade, was that closer to, let's say, 1895, or has that been modified, or do we know?
If you look at your guidelines and commercial vernacular for the form, I think the recessed, the configuration of the entry, the recessed entry, is closer to the 1895, or is original to the 1895 building. Again, I could not document that with historic photography.
Okay, now I'm talking about the backdraft, the store next door that we approved before.
Oh, okay.
I'm just
That
trying to
one-
remember, was that closer to the 1895?
No, that was replaced, and if we go back to, now, that was replaced, and the applicant can probably tell you when this work was
Okay.
done, but if you go back to the older pictures, you'll see that that side already had a plain panel. Okay, so all the applicant did here, I believe, and she can confirm, was to change out this metal single plane panel with one that had the dark kind of powder coated panel. Okay, and again, you know, if you look at the bank, it looks like that work may have been done when the bank was put in. I'm just guessing. But and of course, this whole over roof and everything is gone. That was probably added on and then it was taken off again. I'm guessing again.
Okay,
So,
okay, thank you.
all right.
Does any other members have any questions? No? Okay, the applicant, you can say, keep seated. Do you want to present your case or present anything to it? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Any public comments on this? Okay.
I've got a question. So do you have documentation from a window repair or glass repair person saying that it's unsafe?
Okay, in 20, I believe Maria Olympic Realty went there like 2012 or 2013. I had gone to Pydalis Glass and asked the gentleman to replace that glass, and he says there's no way we can replace any of these. What we can do is seal it, there's some type of a glue to keep it together. But Maria, the tenant at that time, liked that old look, because it kind of made her business look better than just any commercial real estate office. And she, every time there was winds or rain or something, she would always kind of add something to protect it from the inside. We did fix the roof, Mr. Pondo's the roof, but for some reason, because of the front of the building next to the glass, when there's heavy rains, water always goes in the building. You could see that it's not safe from what I see. It's the glass, it's not even a glass, it's like a plexiglass, it's not up to code. It's not as strong as the storefront that we chose and you approved back in 2014 for backdrafts.
Now, both those addresses are on one building?
Yes,
Okay.
one,
And then,
as one parcel.
and just to verify that what you have in first, the backdrafts, you're going to carry that design over
Yes,
to your office?
yes,
Okay,
so it looks uniform.
understand. Yep,
I think.
okay. Okay, let's see.
May I point out that across the street, what is that antique place,
Mhm.
furniture place? They replaced all that front too, and it looks great.
Mm.
It's nice
Yeah.
and clean. That's what I want it to look like.
Okay, thank you. Okay, public comment? Okay. Board, want to discuss this?
Yes.
Okay,
No, I think Nikki did a good job.
okay.
I did have a question about the fixed transoms right now. They do, I know you talk about matching 101. In the drawings here, in the photos, they don't look like they're going to match.
They are going to match.
Okay, but it doesn't show that here. So does that mean the fixed transoms are coming out and they're going to exactly match what's at 101? Because that's not what this shows.
The same company that did its glass, Clearwater Glass,
I can hardly hear you.
Clearwater Glass.
Uh-huh.
The same people that did the storefront for 101, his name is Chuck, he is going to do the same at 105.
Okay, even though it doesn't show that in the drawings here.
It's preliminary, so I have something to show you what it would look like.
Mhm.
And Mr. Bill Larson, he did the construction for 101, he's also gonna do the construction for 105.
Okay.
Anybody else? I've got some talking to do on this. Okay. What we have is the question that I think we need to think about in the future, is we have an old building with one side of it is close to original, judging by the rest of the buildings, okay? The other side has been changed in the 1940s. Now, we do have some specs that we can go by, and that's if a piece of architectural design is later than the original build, it may get historical significance, and we can keep it. Question I've got is, who determines that? Okay? Now, you can, on this, case, you can argue both cases very well, okay? Like, you're arguing that it should be closer to backdrafts, 101, because that's closer to the 1895. Staff is saying correctly that the 1940s has been here for a long time. It's been, and we should put a lot of credit on that, okay? I'm just throwing this up. I think when we come up to something like this, a lot more weight should be put on the owner, okay, the owner's decision, because like I say, both arguments are right, okay? Both arguments have their credence. Both are fairly equal, you know? So now we have to say, okay, how are we gonna weigh this? And I believe it should be with the owner, you know, what her desires are and how she thinks her property should look and how it should fit in. Another thing, in looking at the whole street, each building, a building has, it may have 2 stories in it or whatever, but the front, the facade is pretty uniform for every building. This is one of the few that's not, okay? This has the 1940s on one side and the late 1800s on the other. So, what you can consider is which would, in the overall look, what would look better, going with what's on the street as we see it. Any comments?
Well, I tend to agree with you.
Yeah.
I think, I know these are 2 separate addresses, but it's one building. I think that's the important thing here. I think if we were just dealing with the 105 and not even looking at anything else, I would tend not to want that change. But since the next door has already been modified, a little more contemporary, and I think just because it is the same building, it will sort of bring it together and give it some consistency if it's done correctly, which is why my question was, would these new proposed windows match exactly? All the lines, everything would line up, and she assures me, us, that it would. So in that respect, I agree with you, and I think I tend to think that I would probably go with approval on this.
Okay. Any other discussion?
If staff may be
Oh,
recognized.
yes, staff next.
You can certainly, and, you know, kind of the rub on these is, then the building permit comes through my desk. I pull the certificate of approval, look at what was proposed, and look at the conditions the board put on the certificate of approval. If it makes you more comfortable to condition this, that it matches, the applicant has assured you it will, but that's your option. But I'm gonna be looking for that, but if it's not a condition, it makes it easier for me to enforce at building permit time, if you wish to do it, but you don't have to.
Okay, so what you're saying is put the stipulation in there that it has to match.
If that's the board's desire.
Okay. Okay, any more discussions? Anything else, staff?
No.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Well, I'll make the motion to approve with the condition that it is, the new windows and doors are exact matches. All the sight lines, the thickness of all the framing, the color, everything is exact to what exists already, and that any of the brick veneer will only go where that black tile is right now. And when I talk about exact match, I'm talking about that, I don't know how much it is, 18 inches or 14 inches of the little stucco kind of strip at the top underneath the canopies. I mean, what I'm saying is it needs to look like it was all done at the same time.
Yes, that's my goal.
So they're gonna do away with the transom windows. So
Pardon
those
me?
are, so we're talking about now, it's gonna look, it'll be a strip center look.
Just for procedural purposes, we had a motion, albeit I don't know when that motion ceased,
Okay.
because I don't know if you're still,
I'm still sort of
He's-
talking.
Yeah, he
that is
didn't-
an incredibly long motion, so might I just say, if you're going to propose the motion, we discuss first and then make it a little bit more succinct?
Okay, do we?
Because it
Okay.
appears that it's being opened up for
Yeah.
discussion because we've got an input, there's
Yeah,
not been
okay.
a second
Do
on
we
the
have more
motion.
discussion on this?
I-
Okay.
Look, I just, architecturally, historically, I just don't see how you could give up the look and the feel that that building gives you when you walk by it. It's beautiful, the glass can't be duplicated when we put in just an aluminum facade. And we're talking about, we're gonna do away with the transom windows, which does away with the signboard and takes away all the historical character of the building. I mean, I hate to always tell an owner no, because it is their building and I don't live in it, but even 1940 is pretty historical. So, to match them up perfectly, not try and save some of the character of the building, I think is a mistake as well, and doesn't go with our guidelines.
Mr. Chair, might I interject? One thing to what the chair had said earlier, aside from the guidelines, the actual Tarpon Springs Code under Heritage Preservation says that one of your requirements for the certificate of approval is that the width and height of windows, doors, and entries shall be consistent with the character of the building's original architectural style. In reading that, that goes back to kind of what you were saying. Maybe some of these changes were made in the 1940s, but the intent of the code is to make sure that you get as close to the original historic style as possible. Whose job is that? This board. I say that to say this. There was a motion, I believe, that had been made. I don't know if that was withdrawn purely from a procedural point of view. There was then some discussion, so if we could just either have a motion in a second and then discussion, or continue discussion and have a motion in a second. It looks like there was a motion, and then it just kind of petered out and there was no second. So then there was some discussion with an adverse position to the motion. For procedural reasons, we need either have a motion in a second and then a discussion, or we can continue
Okay,
discussion
so
without the
we can
motion.
go with the discussion after the motion.
Yes, always.
Okay.
And honestly, in the future, I would prefer that there be a motion in a second and then discussion.
Okay.
And that way people can pick their positions. Remember, just because you make a motion, that may not be the position that you want to take. It's just a means to open up discussion for the board.
That's right.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I stand by the original motion to approve as long as everything matches exactly to the 105 building, and the brick is only to go on the black tile area.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
I've made my point, that's all I've got.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Can we have a vote?
And actually, the only discussion that maybe I would have
Oh, okay.
is that I wouldn't have made that motion if that building didn't, if what was already done next door was done. I would not have gone in that direction, just to clarify.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Can we have a vote?
Mr. Rosinski,
Yes.
Ms. Ryan,
No.
Ms. Hallett,
Yes.
Mr. Sprecher,
Yes. Okay, it's been approved. Thank you very much. Let's go on to the next one, which is application 2179. This is at 324 Bay Street, replacement of a walkway and making a deck in the back. Staff?
Yes, this is a replacement of a front walkway and demolition of a rear deck and replacement of that with a rear patio paver on Bay Street. And the location down in the southwest corner there. This is a minimal traditional style house, and this is just a picture of the survey with some sketching on it that the applicant provided of where the deck is and the existing pavers and walkway. Again, minimal traditional style. This one really has no alterations noted on the site file, so it's an excellent example of the minimal traditional. And these are the most applicable standards of review. So we're replacing the concrete walkway, which might be original. The applicant might know more about that, but could be original to the property. We're replacing that with brick, demolishing the rear deck, which in my judgment is not original, and it's a wood deck, and then putting a rear paver patio and walkway. So we're using bricks and pavers. And this is visible from Bay Street, and there is an active rear alley. So it's visible from the rear alley, although there is a substantial contributing garage on the rear alley, so it's kind of hard to see. This is the site plan. Again, there's an existing deck. And there's some concrete slabs and pavers in the back now, so kind of older, kind of leftover features back there that are going to be cleaned up and redone. This is the drawing of what the applicant is proposing for pavers here and for brick here on the sidewalk. The front sidewalk is concrete. The front steps and the supports, piers for the home are brick, or you can see some of this tile incorporated into that. So the brick for the front sidewalk would, I think, be consistent with what's there now. Obviously, this could be easily changed out at any time. It really doesn't disturb the property. It gives it a little more enhancement. Again, here's that rear contributing garage in the back, seen from the alley. And I just stepped around the corner of the garage. I knocked on the door, but no one was home. So I took a couple pictures. You can see, here's the wood deck. You can see it's deteriorating. And a slab, and then some of the paver material that's back there now. It's a little bit overgrown. And this is the paver material that is proposed for that rear kind of patio walkway combination. And staff is recommending approval of this project, and there were no responses to public notice. Are there any questions?
Is there any questions for the staff? Do we have the applicant here? Okay. Were you sworn in? No. Okay. We need to swear her in.
Yes. Can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
So sworn.
Good evening. I've been at 324 Bay Street for 29 years. It's been very important for me to keep the historical aspect of the home. We had the garage, the two-car garage built in 2001, and I specifically got the hardy siding to match the old asbestos, so everything is consistent. What I'm doing now is pretty minimal. The front walkway, I believe, is an original concrete, but it's unheaved and broken and stuff, so I'd like to replace that with pavers in sort of like the herringbone pattern. And then in the back was an old deck, which I've partially demoed. There's still a substantial part left, so I'd like to get that out and then put a on-grade paver patio in the back. But everything will be on grade. There won't be any fill other than just leveling the area out for the pavers.
Okay.
I have one question.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to make your stairs in the back as wide as your double door?
Right now, there's existing stairs out the back door that's covered by the deck. The stairs I'll have from the patio door will be essentially the same size, same width as the patio doors, wood steps coming down to the paver.
But they're going to be as wide?
as wide as the
Good.
patio doors.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll look a whole lot better, yeah.
Yeah, right now the deck,
Right.
yeah, there's holes, so it's not safe.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Is there any more questions?
No?
Okay, is it discussion?
No.
Do we have, with the board? No?
Well, actually, she said that we should make a motion first and then discussion. Because the motion is whether or not we even want to talk about it.
That is what I would prefer and what is usually done under Robert's
That's a
rules.
Robert's
Okay.
This board has not functioned like that in quite some time.
Oh, it's time to start.
But it is at the will of the chair.
Yes, it is.
The purpose of discussion is to discuss the motion that's on the floor, so if we could do a motion, a second, and discuss
Okay.
the motion
Okay.
that's on the floor.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Okay. I move, and we haven't done this tonight either, to accept application 21-79 at 324 Bay Street as presented. Okay?
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay, now it's discussion.
Discussion. Any discussions?
No.
No.
No?
Hearing none. Can we have a vote?
Oh, I'm sorry. Who was the second?
I was Michelle.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mrozinski,
Yes.
Ms. Ryan,
Yes.
Ms. Hallett,
Yes,
Mr. Sprecher.
Yes.
done.
Okay, let's go on to the next. Congratulations. Our last on the docket is application 2189. This is at 110 North Spring Street, replacing some cedar shingles. Staff can brief us on that?
Yes, this is, this project is located on North Spring Boulevard on Spring Bayou. Nearly an acre property, pretty prominent property. You all saw recently, you saw an application for the previous carriage house behind it. So that gives you an idea of where this is. And this is the George Clemson House, also known as the Annexie House locally. It was originally designed as a summer residence for George Clemson. He was a hacksaw blade manufacturer from New York, and that shingle style was popular for coastal residences in New York at the time. And the master site file does note this as an excellent and rare example of the shingle style in Florida. We only have 3 shingle style buildings in our historic district here, and this is obviously the most prominent one. It's a pretty important part of conveying that history at Tarpon Springs along the Spring Bayou shoreline. With respect to, and I've got a lot of pictures here, the applicant is here, Contos Construction, Vasily Contos is here to explain some of the technical aspects of this project that you might have questions on. So these are some views of the residence. This is the illustration of the shingle style, and this one really does, match that, all those features of that style, displays those features very well. So this involves replacement of all the existing cedar siding on the exterior walls with the hardy shingle cement fiber siding. Okay, and as far as your, I'll just go back to your criteria. Oops. As far as your criteria, I think from the neighborhood context, this is really prominently visible from Spring Boulevard and Grand Boulevard. The house is kind of pushed back to that northwest corner. So as far as the context and the conveyance of that in character, that building. The replacement should be fine as long as it looks like the shingle style. So as far as criteria number 3, I feel that that is met. The applicant did replace the shingle roof recently, and that did generate some of the issues with the siding as they went to replace the roof. I think some of the siding obviously was found to be in pretty bad shape, maybe worse than they thought, and they can talk about that. Some of the siding may be original, so let's look at the pictures. And some of it may have been replaced over the years. Again, this residence is built about around 1900, so 120 years. The original is probably pretty deteriorated. The exact quantification of the deterioration wasn't provided, but and some of the siding has been removed already, but there is variation in the shingle size that you can see. Although with original siding is not necessarily completely uniform in size. You can see, for example, here you've got some way different stuff going on than right next to it, that maybe some of this was replaced. And again, the applicant can give you his expert opinion on what might have happened with this structure. If you look at, and just a few more pictures, this is the north side, which looks like it's not quite as bad. Corners are bad. Small spaces between features are bad. I'm just telling you this from my experience of visiting the property. At the same time, as noted in the staff report and in your guidelines, replacement of siding should not disturb other architectural features if they can be retained. The applicant is doing a very detailed and labor-intensive, looks like to me, project here of keeping all the dental work, the molding, the window surrounds, the wood windows, the headboards, all those things, and even you can see some of the soffit is in poor shape up there. So there's a lot of work being done to restore this structure. Again, north facing. I think the east and west sides from the pictures are kind of the worst, and when I was there, it was in the morning. And I mean direct sunlight, this time of year, right on that east side. And so I can see why it would be so deteriorated. The applicant can maybe tell you a little bit about this. There may be some history of a different kind of design on the building. The replacement siding should appear to be the same as the existing. This kind of picket border will not be duplicated, so that will not be replaced on the building. But that's the only feature that's different, I think. And then here are some of the photos from the applicant showing some of the close-up deterioration. Some of it's just disintegrating, just kind of crumbling, as you can see here. Again, that's this area down here is kind of crumbling. This is on the south facing or front part of the structure. Again, the west side. Not sure what side that was. West side, again, you can see all this area is deteriorating, and maybe could have been some replacement there. This is the proposed siding. So this is the Hardy shingle siding, and this was photographed at the Carriage Homes on Ring Avenue that's recently been going up down the street here. This is a yellow color that they've chosen for this particular residence. And you can see, it's kind of a different sizes, but kind of a uniform layout of the siding. And here's another picture of it on an upper story. Here's a picture of the new siding and the old, and we do have samples here, and I'll pass those out as the applicant makes his presentation. Some of your standards talk about the surface finish. This is the old siding, and I couldn't decide. In fact, I asked the applicant. It looks like some of the siding had maybe been painted, maybe stained, maybe some of it left as is, and he can talk about that. This looked almost painted, but you could see wood grain on most of the existing siding, and there will be a wood grain finish on the cement fiber siding. With respect to your guideline 10B, the new synthetic siding is discouraged overall, but the use of the fiber cement siding may be approved on a case-by-case basis if one or more of the following conditions are present. And I believe these items would be probably most important in your guidelines for you to consider on making a decision here. Number one is if the applicant can prove to the HPB that the existing siding is so deteriorated or damaged that it cannot be repaired. Second is if the substitute material can be installed without irreversibly damaging or obscuring the architectural features and trim of the building. I believe both of those are met in general. Number three is the applicant can provide samples or documentation of the historic siding and the proposed replacement to ensure that the substitute material matches in size, profile, finish, thickness, those types of features, and we'll bring that over for you to look at. And then number four is if the substitute material matches the historic material and is appropriate to the style of the building, and there is no change to the character of the historic building. So obviously the siding is, besides the architectural features, the siding is the most important feature of the shingle style. The applicants provided the evidence of deterioration as far as the repair versus replacement. Whether you could save a portion of the siding or not, there is a substantial, in my mind, a substantial amount that would have to be replaced. So that is a consideration. The other architectural features are being preserved and restored. Again, we talked about the comparative size and finish, and the thickness appears to be the same. We'll pass that out. And as far as color, the finished color of this new siding was not provided in the application, although you can't really specify a required color. You don't really regulate color. Again, the character of the building is very important, and I think you should at least be satisfied that the proposed color will preserve the character of the style, especially since there's so much coverage and this is such a prominent building. So you might talk with the applicant about what the finished color will look like or what it'll look like over time. The Secretary's standards, I think, can be met if the applicant can demonstrate this is the best option for the longevity of the property and the preservation of its character. And this project does comply with the Land Development Code and the comprehensive plan. I did have a request for information on this project from a member of the public, but there was no comment. Do you have any questions?
Wendy, have any questions? Thank you. Okay. Applicant, do you want to brief the committee?
Hello.
Hello.
Okay. All right, so what we're doing is it's badly decomposing, so we're trying to kind of bring the structure back to life, and all the key aspects around the windows and doors are being all remilled because they're not the same size, so we're kind of milling them now. So the only thing we got to change is the siding on it because that's badly in poor shape and it's letting a lot of water and moisture into the property. So the best way we could do it is put the hardy board siding on. So what we did is we started at the roof line and we had to change the flashings and then we just started going up. Everything was kind of decomposing at the time, rotting away.
Okay,
Are you replacing any windows?
No, we're not replacing any windows. We're just
Then I just
redoing the trim and everything like that. Everything's going back to the original.
Oh, okay. How about the porch?
The porch, everything's going back to original.
Oh, okay.
But everything has to be hand milled.
Oh,
That's what we're doing right now.
okay. Yeah, because there was a porch railing and all, and that's
Yes,
down.
yes, we took that down because it's all rotting away.
Oh,
So everything's gonna go back up original like it is.
okay. So you're having to build a new railing, or,
Yes, we're
yeah?
basically milling everything to the same size and shape and style.
Mm-hmm. No, good.
So the only thing you can't save is the siding. Siding is a cedar shake, creates too much moisture in Florida, so this is the best way that nobody will have to worry about it again and keep the moisture and the rains out of the interior of the house.
It lasted 100 years.
It lasted a long time.
Could you explain how this, these new, the board gets installed? I'm familiar with the cedar shake, with it being thinner at one side, heavier at the other side for the overlap. You kind of get a little 3D look to it. I don't feel we're getting the same thing here. So could you explain how that's installed?
You're basically, it's installed the same way. You know, you just basically stagger your joints and you're gonna get the same design and profile out of it. It's just more of a concrete board out of it.
It'll be a little flatter though, won't it, as a finished look? or-
No, once it all goes up, if you would have looked at the other picture that was there, when you look at the finished product, it looks the same. It's unnoticeable.
Philip. You can zoom in if you need to.
Yeah, because you're only looking at one little dragon tooth there. You're not looking at all of it. That's why I provided the other photos. They're actually doing at the carriage home, and they actually painted it now. It looks better than what it is when we took those photos. And I think she'll go back to it, like right there.
yeah, that's a carriage home, that's a, okay.
Yes, so if you look at the cedar shake, it looks identical to that. That one hasn't been painted yet, but since it's a full finish, you'll see like the profile of it. There, you don't really get anything of it.
Understood.
That's why we took that picture too. So
Like
we're not gonna mess with all the trims and stuff. We're gonna keep all the, the teeth and everything on there. So, this is the only thing we're really gonna mess with.
Okay. Okay, any more questions?
No.
Any public questions? Okay, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion
Okay,
to approve as stated.
as it is? Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Do we have a discussion?
Who wants to second it?
Oh, second
I
was,
think we both did at the same time.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
yeah,
Ms. Hallett?
Ms. Cal.
Okay.
Okay, seeing no discussion, can we have a vote?
Mr. Mrozinski?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Ms. Hallett?
Yes.
Mr. Sprecher?
Yes. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
It'll be beautiful.
No, it will be.
It's a long, big job.
Yeah, that's it right there. Staff, do we have any comments? Okay.
Oh, we could throw them away.
Do you want this wood
Two
back?
quick items, and I should have handed this out to start. If you are tracking Technical Review Committee meeting agendas, I just wanted to let you all know that the last 4 meetings of the year have been moved, so I'll hand out this schedule, and they're going to be the second Thursday instead of the first Thursday. And then I will be sending you this email, but we have offered to the certified local governments 2 virtual trainings, both of which I'm signed up for, and hopefully I'll be able to do both of them. These are the Commission Assistance and Mentoring Program trainings that the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions puts on. It's called CAMP. One of them is on resilience and disaster planning in the Historic District, which is going to align with our grant that we just got. That's going to be on September 24th. And then there's another one for 6 topics. And I'll send you this. It's a variety of things, from legal to mid-century, like, you know, stuff that's coming to be historic now, like from the 70s that maybe somebody might, like me, wouldn't think is historic, but they're starting to be. Those are on September 9th and 10th. So I'll send you this, and then you can, you know, you can go ahead and register for those. And if you're interested in those, because they kind of like a head count of how many people are going to be attending. And that's it.
Pat, one thing. Would you explain, I don't know if everybody saw the commission on the sign that needed to be framed?
The sign at, I think it was 218 East Tarpon, it was appealed. I can't remember the application number. That was Dina Monsieur's sign. Yes, the board approved that with the condition that they put a frame around it. So that was the result of that appeal.
Right. They had the same questions we had. Why did they do it that way and not?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, board, do we have any comments? No? Okay, 7:37.
Thank
Calling this
you.
adjourned. Okay, thank you very much for all your
Oh, wait. I wanna
participation.
see. What's the date? 2, I won't be here.